I'll pray for you. That's great news, isn't it? I come to you about the abuse that I'm enduring, and you want to act like a schizophrenic and talk to your imaginary friend. That's not help, that's dismissive. I'll pray. That's not help. That is not help. That is complacency and laziness and excuses. I'm going to tell you about a guy in town named Rod Wright. Now, I went to the Chapel Assembly of God here, and I was treated pretty shitty by the congregation, including my former art teacher, Ronald Nordyke. Yeah, not going back to that church again. People keep saying, go and ask these churches for help. I'm going to tell you a little short story. I was traveling from all the way in Montana, all the way to Chapel, Nebraska. And I stopped in a little town called Alliance. I needed a break. I'd been walking a while. Just for God's sake, could somebody just let a homeless person who has been walking for days, could you just let them sit for 5 minutes? Could you? That backpack is heavy, not complicated. So this officer stops by and he says he's sick and tired of travelers being there. He tells them where the resources are, and 3 days later, they're still sitting there. So he said, you know what? I'm going to take you around to these services. He took me around to the churches. After years of telling people that this is where these people need to go for help, this was the first time he'd ever gone with them to do so. And he went with me. And sure enough, the things he was telling people to go to the churches for, the churches weren't doing. When these people would tell him, hey, the churches aren't doing that, he'd treat them like they were liars. But this one time, he went with me. If he'd have gone the first time, he'd have realized those people weren't liars. They went to the church. I went there with a police officer to the church and still didn't get that help. After driving around to several different churches that he was sure had vouchers and all sorts of this, that, and the other to help people, he realized that he had been completely full of shit for years. He even gave me an apology and some water, and guess what? He dropped me off right in that exact same spot where he picked me up. He's tired of seeing him there 3 days later because there's all these services. And at the end of going to all these services with me, what does he do? That's right. Drop me off right back where I was. Instead of harassing me, he could have let me have 5 minutes of sitting down on my backpack to take a break. And by the way, obviously, I did make it back to Chapel, Nebraska. I'm tenacious as fuck. When I went to high school in Lodgepole, Nebraska, that's 9 miles away. I walked there every day. I jogged back every day. Every day. Oh, wait, there's somebody who's going to call me a liar because I didn't do it on the weekends. Some weekends I did, not to go to school, but because I had a friend there named Sam Wilkins, who is no longer my friend. He wanted to do the I'll pray for you. You know how dismissive that is? You're telling somebody about your abuse because you need help stopping it, and they will pray for you. Now let's use Terry Jepson as an example. She'll pray for me. She'll pray for me. She'll pray for me. She'll pray for me. Well, what good did that prayer do? I came to her about abuse and she'll pray for me. Well, thank you very much. I guess, sort of, but not really. You'll pray for me. See, the so called Christians that I went to for help wanted to say the most dismissive and cruel thing that they could. I'll pray for you. Literally, what you were telling me is that you are too goddamn lazy to get off your ass and do something. You'll pray for me. Well, thank you. So, Rod Wright, I have to have somebody there so that I can turn in my predators. The cops are not going to do anything about it. They're not actually going to do anything about Robert Warnick. But at least I'm able to turn it in. Rod Wright wanted to argue with me because of things that had happened at other congregations. Was he there for those things? Or was he passing judgment upon me based on rumors that he had heard? Rod Wright is a witness to the abuse by Dual County Sheriff's Department as a result of that. And also due to the fact that he recorded it, he has evidence of it. Sean Holloway's body camera recorded that conversation. That body camera evidence shows that, yeah, Rod was there. Rod was recording it. Now, Rod can either come forward about that or he can destroy evidence. Rod Wright lives here in Chapel, Nebraska. As long as I have known him, I have thought of him as a good man. It was his choices and his decisions and his judgment that is making me rethink that. If he is a good man, if he is a godly man, then he will speak up. He will present that evidence. Now, then there's of course, the so-called Christians that were claiming that they were going to help me, wanted to dismiss me by saying they will pray for me. Your prayers have not stopped the abuse. Your prayers did not help me to turn in my predators. Your prayers did nothing. I did not come to you for you to do nothing. I came to you because I am being abused. Now, then there's the so-called Christians on the other side from all over the world. There's a woman named Cora Bowers from Nova Scotia, Canada. She is one of many, many, many hundreds of people who got online to harass me online. And this isn't just online. I have to deal with this in real life. While you guys, every time I try to explain this, you want to say, well, you should just get offline. You should get off the internet. No. You know what that does? It guarantees that I will not be heard because I'm not speaking. Each and every one of these people that I went to for help, every one of them, every single one could have spoken up. I spent 7 months in prison, not jail, prison, for crimes that not only did I not commit, I wasn't even charged with felonies. I was charged with misdemeanors. Misdemeanors that they dropped because they were bullshit. They dropped them right before court. I'll pray for you. Well, that's great. Other supposed Christians like, well, my predators used in Jesus' name as well. In Jesus' name, in Jesus' name. Not just Cora Bowers, Natalie Bollinger's entire family pretends to be Christian. Laura Nelson pretends to be Christian. I've read the Bible. These people are not Christian. They're not even anywhere close to approaching being Christian. They have the same mentality as the German people prior to World War II. If they ignore it, it'll go away. If they ignore it, it won't happen to them. And guess what? It didn't go away. And it did happen to those people. It's fine as long as it's not happening to you. Isn't that correct? All of these people who I recorded our conversations, they had ample time and opportunity to come forward and stop the abuse. They made zero effort to actually do that because they didn't want to tell the truth. They didn't want to face the consequences of being honest. I'll pray for you. If somebody in your family came to you and said, I've been raped, are you going to do something about it, or are you going to pray for them? People want to say, give it to God, give it to God. Give it to God, give it to God. But then when I don't do what they want, do they give it to God? No. They complain to the police and to the courts because they don't fucking like that I told the truth. They don't like that I showed the truth. Meanwhile, these people, if they really loved me, if they really cared about me, they would have spoken up instead of forcing me to record our conversations to show the truth, that they were dismissive, that they did bullshit me, that they did. Instead of doing the right thing, they ignored the abuse and made every excuse they could. If Kinga Nichols was truly afraid to tell the truth because she was afraid of being deported, she should have said that. Now, meanwhile, I've got to deal with supposed Christians like Ted Bollinger. The dude raped his own fucking daughter. He might as well be a fucking Catholic priest. And a lot of y'all say, well, you can't have that. Catholic priest can't get married. You know what? There are plenty of people who are married who later became Catholic priests. There are Catholic priests alive today who have children and grandchildren and even great-grandchildren. Little details, right? So I suppose I should show you the stuff from Cora Bowers. Now, mind you, this Cora Bowers wasn't the only person to harass me. She pretended that she had never, ever messaged me or harassed me or threatened me or anything of that nature to her friend Linda, who wanted to get a hold of me and claim that I was harassing this cunt out of nowhere. Those of you who don't like the word cunt, I'm fine with that. I use that word for a very specific reason and purpose. Now let's see. I believe there's a way that I could get to it. Let me see. Message requests. And I believe she is in spam. Let's see. Cora Bowers. Now, a lot of y'all You want to pretend that the things that I say are, well, let's read this one right here. Fucking contact me again, you will be sorry. That's about the nicest threat that she made. So here's how it starts off. It starts off with her getting a hold of me on January 5th, 2018 at 2:20 p.m. It says, Cora Bowers, Facebook. You're not friends on Facebook. View profile. I'm not going to her fucking profile. She wanted to stalk my shit. Oh, come on now, zoom in. Oh, there has got to be a way to make this work. Maybe if I hold it there still. There it goes. Starts off with, you fucking stalker, you fucking weirdo. Shouldn't go around killing people. Hope you get caught. Now, that's about the nicest thing that she typed to me. Now, I did eventually type back to her. You goddamn right. If you let these predators go, they do it again to someone else. I typed, fucking creepy ass stalker, you shouldn't go around assuming blame based on looks and gender. You're bad, not mine, I forgive you. So she types to me, fuck off, pig, love to slit your throat. I typed, see what I mean about sexist and pretty and money? Didn't think so. You were a vile excuse for a human being. She typed, sicko, ha 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 ha. I typed, sicko? I'm not the one assaulting people or threatening to slit people's throats. And I get treated like I am imagining this, like I am some sort of schizophrenic who doesn't know up from down and is imagining these things. But you'll pray for me, right? Let's see, here's another one. Daniel Loyota. You're one creepy son of a bitch. You should probably just kill yourself. Now, you guys who want to say, oh, well, it's just on the internet, it's just on the internet. No, I have to deal with this in real life. I have to be afraid of going outside because I have to fear being abused again because these people, instead of helping, wanted to say, I will pray for you. Give it to God. Did Terry Jepsen give it to God? No, she's trying to have the truth removed. How very Christian. How very Christian. When your religion is used as an excuse to ignore harm against others, you are sick in the head. You seriously need to seek therapy. When Terry didn't want the truth that came out of her mouth on my YouTube channel, did she pray to God or did she try to destroy evidence? That's right. This is someone I went to for help. This is how we are treated by everyone. You could get off your ass and say something. Now let's read this from this Caroline lady. She just recently became my friends on my friends list. She wants to type a bunch of pretty shit and tell me she'll pray for me. She tells me she's been through it all, and then she tells me that she'll pray for me. And I explained to her, hey, I don't need your pretty words. And what does she do? She spams me with pretty words. Complacent, right? Meanwhile, there's a lot of Christians who committed and perpetrated these crimes against me, including Natalie and Alicia Bollinger. And they were able to manipulate you idiots into doing evil shit like what Cora Bowers did by saying, in Jesus' name. Your prayers don't do shit. You made the conscious decision to blow me off and to do nothing and to blow smoke up my ass. When something happens to you, you want instant gratification. Many of these people who claimed that they were going to help me did not. They wanted to treat me completely like shit when I called them out for it. Now, the police, what they wrote down in their reports is completely different from what these people were telling me. Completely different. Now, these people could have come forward and told the actual truth instead of letting the cops write down whatever fucking lie that they want to about why you didn't keep your word, about why you didn't make any effort to actually come forward. If you're telling me that you can't come forward because you got a funeral this weekend, fine, go to your funeral. That's all right. But if 6 months down the road you're still bullshitting me, yeah, I'm not going to believe you. I am not going to believe you. Miss Peaches lied out her ass at me for almost a full year about gonna help me. And then she ended up helping the people that were threatening to kill me because she's friends with them. They're better friends than I am because they have the fucking drugs. And you can hear in the conversations with Miss Peaches, she admits to being a fucking drug dealer. Every time I took it to the cops before Natalie was killed, I was blown off. Every time I went to my friends for help before Natalie was killed, I was blown off. I was talked over. I'll pray for you. You got to love yourself. Give it to God. Meanwhile, these are illegal. These are legal issues that I am bringing to you. I'm being abused. I am a disabled and at-risk adult, and I have no rights. I went to the cops. They didn't do anything. Now Natalie's dead. Do you think they're really going to try to help me? Do you think they're going to admit that for an entire fucking year before Natalie was killed, I tried to get help? We got Christians like Brenda Dickinson. She is literally right across the street from me. When I was assaulted by Robert Warnick, he chased me for 2 fucking blocks in his vehicle and almost fucking ran into me. But that's fine, isn't it? It's okay that he assaulted me, isn't it? Because you will fucking pray for me. Meanwhile, these other supposed Christians that were helping out the Bollingers were helping to harass me and gaslight me. And you want to talk about how people wanted to help me and they tried to help me? Did they really? Did they use their words where it fucking mattered? Or did I have to record it and put it on fucking YouTube? That's right, I had to record it and put it on YouTube. Along with a lot of the evidence that the police will not take a look at and keep on pretending that I'm schizophrenic so that they don't have to until the statute of limitations is over. So while it's taking you an entire fucking year to not keep your fucking word, I'm being abused that entire fucking year. That entire year you could have done something. That entire year you could have spoken up. And then these people want to try to manipulate me by making me feel like I'm a bad person for showing the truth. My granddaughter saw that. Well, that's a good thing, because now your granddaughter is well aware of the quality of human being that you actually are not. Just like Leslie Snell pretending like I had done something to her kids. She says, my kids are afraid of him. Well, why the fuck wouldn't they be? After all the fucking slander and bullshit. They're not afraid of me hurting them. They're afraid that their mommy's gonna go to fucking prison for helping my predators. Now, Daniel Leola is not the only one. Cora Bowers was not the only one. I got plenty of Facebook users that look just like this. There's nothing on it anymore. They destroyed the evidence of their threats. I needed help turning in this evidence. The cops were not going to help me if I went in alone, and I explained this hundreds of times. These people, all of them, committed criminal acts by taking advantage of me, by taking advantage of my situation. These people who pretended that they were going to help, in the end, they helped my predators. They were pissed off that I showed the truth with their words. That's right. When I showed you those words from Cora Bowers, are those her words? Give it to God, give it to God, give it to God. Now, Rod Wright, when I went to him, he wanted to talk about a bunch of stuff that he could look at evidence. The things that people told him were not true. And I have the evidence of it. But he didn't look at the evidence before passing that judgment. He told me those things as if they were fact. Here is a man who is a Christian being lied to by Christians and assuming they're telling the truth because they're saying in Jesus' name, just like the Bollingers did. The Bollingers say in Jesus' name, and you believe whatever fucking bullshit comes out of their mouth. But you'll pray for me, right? Meanwhile, a lot of these supposed Christians they wanted to accuse me of being a devil worshiper. Tell me I'm going to hell. Cool. See, there's this big oxymoron in religion. Between a loving God and the hell that it created, a loving God would not create a hell. Hell is worse than being beaten up every moment of the rest of your life while being raped. No matter what you're going through, when people push you to the point that you want your life to end, and you're not telling people that you want your life to end because you're killing yourself, you're telling them that because you want help. Instead of trying to kill yourself, you're trying to get help stopping the abuse. But instead of helping stop the abuse, they lock you up for being fucking suicidal, and you're not trying to kill yourself, you're trying to get help. So you are now being punished for trying to get help. You are literally doing to this person what it is that is making them suicidal. You are punishing them for trying to get help. I already knew that they were going to play the mentally ill card. Just like all growing up, I knew that the bullies that were bullying me and beating me up and harassing me and assaulting me in the institutions, in most places, these were primarily black kids. And I knew that they were going to use the race card to try to justify what they had done. Because first, they want to bully me. And then they want to yell at me and say, hey, call me the N-word. I know you want to. I dare you. I dare you. Call me the N-word. But they're saying the actual word. It's fine for them, but not okay for me. So here I am. I'm frustrated. I've got multiple people around me in these situations. In most cases, it's not one-on-one. You are being bullied, harassed, or beaten up by multiple black kids. And then when they get busted, what do they say? He called me the N-word. He called me the N-word. Am I allowed to beat up a black man for calling me a cracker? Am I allowed to beat up a black man for calling me a honky or a redneck? Is it okay for me to do those things? No, it is not. Racism is socially acceptable as long as you're not white, and as long as it is specifically pointed towards white people. When white people try to turn in their abuse, they get told how fucking privileged they are. Really? How privileged am I for having grown men shove their cocks up my ass as a child? Tell me how fucking privileged I am. I've been assaulted more times for the color of my skin than literally anyone I know. Tell me how privileged I am. Tell me about how you'll pray for me. You tell me to give it to God. But then, when I show the truth, you don't give it to God, do you? You want the truth removed. You don't want the world to have access to the truth because you are ashamed and embarrassed. And you should be. These aren't just my rights I'm fighting for. These are our rights. Y'all know who Martin Niemöller is? I'm going to type something over here. When they came. This is a poem by Robert Niemöller. I'm going to take the time to read it to you. By the way, Martin Niemöller was a priest. He was also a submarine commander in World War I. Now I've got a tab up here. It says Nova Scotia Police Department. There is no reason for these things to be happening in America. Oh, yes, there is the complacency of the American citizens. When you have a witch hunt, you join in. You love it. Most of the supposed Christians that were helping the Bollingers were gaslighting me, harassing me. And it's fine, isn't it? Or they were pretending like they were my friends, like they were going to help me. But by calling me mentally ill and pretending that I was schizophrenic, I was prevented from even showing evidence. I was prevented from even speaking up. And my own public pretenders committed felonies because they didn't want to do their jobs. You got to hear my autism advocate say in the last video with her that I posted. You got to hear that conversation, didn't you? Just in case you didn't, I'm going to post it up here. I'm not going to tell you what it says. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to look. If you're too lazy to do that, that's on you. If you want to pretend like you want to help me, but you're too lazy to look, you don't want to help. Now let's see. We'll pop up with the YouTube here first. Go to my channel, and we'll pull this out. There's conversations on here with Laura Nelson. There's conversations on here with nearly every witness that I've spoken about. The things that they should have come forward about. These people were aware that I was being abused. And as a result, literally, legally, all of them have committed felonies. Every single person that I went to about my abuse who was made aware of it, because I am disabled, it is against the law for them to do what they have done. And they know it. Why is it that they want to run for the hills? Because their words can now incarcerate them. Leslie Snell wanted to use her kids to try to get away from her crime, get away with her crimes. Same thing with Robert Warnick. That's right. This registered sex offender has like 7 fucking kids. Now let's see. Oh, here's the witness from Hungary. This is King of Nichols. Copy link address. I was looking for something else, but, well, since I was talking about King of Nichols in the last video, I suppose I ought to pop up the evidence, the actual evidence, the actual words of this woman. The things that she didn't want everybody to know. But, of course, everybody wouldn't know all those things if she had been busy listening instead of making it story time. I wouldn't have had to do it that way if she had come forward to begin with. So, here's the second one. Another call with a witness from Hungary. She's an American citizen now. A lot of people wanted to say, well, I sent you money. I sent you money. You know what? I wouldn't have needed any of that money if you had spoken up. I needed your words. That money was a temporary patch so that I could continue trying to exist until you grew the intestinal fortitude to tell the truth. Until you had the time, according to you. You didn't have the time. You didn't have the time. No, you absolutely had the time. You can tell if someone actually cares about you. If they actually care, they make the time. Ah, here's one called Ed Simmons, another witness. Copy link address. We'll post this one up. This is Christine Buhitsax. Let's see, a conversation with a witness named Steve Tomlinson. Copy link address. We'll post that up too. I'm posting up evidence, okay? While you guys want to judge me based on opinions and slander, I'm posting up evidence. I'm posting up evidence of witnesses who are there and present for these situations. Now, some of them, like Steve Tomlinson, yeah, he would gladly come forward. Same thing with George. Yeah, he admitted he would gladly come forward. But the thing is, I was cut off from being able to speak to these people because of hatred towards me, because of slander. A lot of people say, well, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me when it happened? I was cut off. I was on Facebook ban after Facebook ban because at that point in time, and they've changed it since then, thank goodness. But at that point in time, if you got enough people that are calling it spam, they remove it and you're on a 30-day ban. Now, in the beginning, all I had was a telephone to try to do that stuff on. You don't get to appeal it on a telephone. I have tried. Now, the appeals that I have made, I have won most of my Facebook appeals. People wanted to destroy the truth, and they succeeded in many cases, but not all of them. There are many situations where I won the appeal, but I was still stuck on the 30-day ban because Facebook algorithms are fucking busted. But you'll pray for me, right? Between finding out these details and praying for me, you're going to go all schizo and talk to your imaginary friend. You guys treat Odinists like they are paranoid schizophrenics. When you guys say, oh, well, this happened to me and the Almighty rescued me from it, that's the same thing the Odinists say. That's the same thing the Muslims say. Their deity rescued them from it. Well, how about in reality, when you got into that rollover accident, you had the intelligence enough, first of all, to put your seatbelt on. And second of all, the physics of you hitting that rock that was in the road made it so that you flipped over into a soft spot that was wet instead of running headlong into a fucking brick wall or the side of a mountain or off of the side of a mountain. It just so happened that you hit it at the right angle for it to save your life by flipping you 3 times into a ditch. God rescued you from that? Why didn't God just prevent the accident to begin with? Your excuses for all of these horrible things that happen in the world and your excuses for looking away is that God wills it? The Muslims and the Christians during the Crusades had exactly that same excuse. They said, God wills it. Does he really? You know, everything happens for a reason. That's what we get told when this shit happens to us. You have no idea how many times I went to people about people who molested me as a child, and I get told by these people that, well, we don't always know what God's reasoning is, but God knows better than us. Are you going to tell that to your daughter when she comes to you about being raped? Or are you going to go down to the police station? When your religion is an excuse to A, harm others like the Bollinger Christians, or B, to be complacent and look the other way like Brenda Dickinson and Laura Nelson and David Nelson, these people all know facts, not opinions, actual facts about what was going on. Now, after Brenda Dickinson made false promises and then tells me that she's going to pray for me, and then almost a year down the road, I'm in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I'm getting a hold of her. I'm being harassed by the cops. I need a safe environment for my evidence and for myself. And I'm getting a hold of her and saying, hey, I need help. And she's saying, well, I can't be there for you 24/7. You haven't been there at all. She wanted to pretend like I'm literally calling her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, trying to get her help. No. She had already made plenty of excuses by that point. I was having to rely on strangers for help. Alcoholics like Shannon Alvarado, who's an atheist, by the way. Now, we jumped through a lot of hoops. Those hoops to get me into housing and to get into disability. Brenda Dickinson was involved in almost every step of that. The problem is that she's got rheumatoid arthritis and she takes some pretty serious fucking drugs. So she really had no idea what was going on at the time. And she was busy talking almost nonstop. And you say, hey, you need to get you some positive friends, you know, like the guy whose house I'm staying in here. It'd be nice if he was happy. It'd be nice if, we laughed and joked and, did fun things together. But you know what? He's allowed to be depressed. It's difficult for me because he is depressed so often when he's here. Or he's playing video games, to try to get his mind off of things. And do I treat him like he's a bad person for playing those video games? No, I absolutely don't. That is how he tries to cope with it. I play video games too to try to cope with it. But no matter what, I can't forget. I can't. When I play video games, like when I was up in Montana, Atlanta, and Amanda's, I couldn't play my video games. All I had was online games on my computer. And before I left, of course, their internet sucks, so those online games don't work. Before I left, I was downloading a game so that I could actually have a game to play to try to take my mind off of it. I didn't even get to complete downloading it. I had to finish downloading it at Ms. Jerry's house. And then after I left, Amanda wants to pretend like I told her that the reason I wasn't sleeping at night is because I was up all night playing video games. I didn't have any video games I could fucking play. Then Miss Jerry is supposed to take me to the bus station there in Bozeman, Montana, so that I can get on a ride to go all the way to Colorado to one of my court dates. A court date where I was charged with crimes after I was assaulted. I was assaulted. And I'm there at Miss Jerry's, and basically Lana is pissed off as I'm getting ready to leave. And she shoves this box in my hand, telling me that this is an external hard drive. Cool. But it doesn't have all the pieces to it. And she tells me it doesn't have all the pieces to it. So she sends me with this external hard drive that I've got no way to even use. By the way, that is at Tabitha's house in Longmont, Colorado. That hard drive is still there. So I go to Miss Jerry's house, right? And Miss Jerry tells me that I shouldn't be on my computer games, that I should be working with that hard drive thing. And I say, well, it's missing a piece. She says, well, I have one. I said, well, do you think you could grab it? She says, well, I don't know where it's at. And then periodically, because she's wanting to talk to her boyfriend on the phone pretty much the whole time, she's not paying any attention to me, except occasionally to say, are you going to work on that? Do I have the fucking cord? But I can't say it like that. I had to repeatedly tell her, I don't have the cord. You said you have a cord, but you don't know where it's at. So then I get treated like I wasn't making any effort, even though how could I? How do I use this external hard drive that I don't know how to use? How do I use it? Especially when it doesn't have all of the stuff that it needs in order to even function. I can't even turn the thing on or plug it into my computer. So how does it help? Now, I was over at Brenda Dickinson's trying to get that evidence back after the messed up things that those people did. At least she could admit that. I told people, you come forward or I will. And if I have to come forward, I'm telling the truth. Truth. If you tell me that there's a reason that you can't come forward, I'm going to admit it. You should have admitted it to the courts. I was railroaded because you were too cowardly or too lazy to actually do something. And by something, you need to come forward about what you know. Now, are these people going to come forward and be honest now? No, they're angry with me. They're angry that I told the truth. There is no incentive for them to tell the truth beyond being a decent excuse for a human being. And if they were a decent excuse for a human being, they would have come forward already. I wouldn't have had to fucking record it. When you use your religion as an excuse to look the other way when it happens to somebody else. But then your religion, you throw it away like trash. Your faith disappears. Your faith in God to take care of it disappears. You think that I should have faith that God is going to magically fix this when you could literally do something about it. You want to push it off and project it onto the Almighty. But then, when you don't like the fact that I've told the truth or recorded conversations with you that I told the truth about, I told the truth for, what is it, 11 months after Natalie died before I finally had to record these people. I told true stories and these people never came forward. And then I recorded them, and those conversations that I recorded proved that those stories were true. And these people want to get angry at me because their words are on the internet. Maybe you should be glad that I put up all of your words, that I didn't just cut out the little bits and pieces that I wanted to try to paint you out to be the devil. That's called framing. What is framing? Well, instead of thinking the way that you traditionally do about framing, I want you to actually think about where this came from, where this expression came from. Let's say you've got a big old battle scene, right? Like my grandpa Gross, he carved Custer's Last Stand, literally carved it into wood. Now, Custer's Last Stand is a famous painting, and he, of course, took this painting as his inspiration for this massive carving that took up almost an entire wall in my grandma Gross's house. There was a point to that, but the beeping at me is bugging me, and of course, ADOS. You're allowed to have your religion, but once you start using your religion as an excuse, you have proven that you're a manipulator. You don't actually believe, you are just a manipulator. You want me to go to God because you don't want to tell the truth. You can go to the cops. You have support. You can outright lie and you automatically win because these cops and courts pretend that I'm schizophrenic. And no matter how much evidence I post up on here showing it's the truth, the fact is I need to be able to show that in court, to show how the courts in Nebraska and Wyoming and Colorado have abused me for trying to get help, and not just for me. You have any idea how much it hurt to be in Wyoming while Rihanna Ingersoll is beating on Amy Kingery's children, and I have to be afraid to call the police? I have to go find someone with a telephone to make an anonymous phone call. Then, of course, I've got some syringes, right? And these are machinery syringes. They've got a little curved plastic piece on the end. You can't inject drugs. These are for injecting oil into hard to reach places on an engine. So after I call the cops and I'm explaining about the abuse, they show up and they're complaining about how the kids aren't being fed. The kids absolutely were being fed. The call that I made was not about children not being fed. The calls that I made were about Rihanna beating on those fucking kids. She wasn't disciplining them for their bad behavior, and they were extremely horribly behaved. I'm not going to pretend that they were perfect little angels because they weren't, not even close. But she wasn't disciplining them. She was smacking them around because she was drunk and missed her sons. That is never okay. Why is it that Amy Spencer and Andrew, or Amy Witcher and Andrew Witcher, want to play like I'm a bad guy now? Because after doing the things that they did and taking advantage of me, lying about me, and then they want to ask for my help, and then they want to villainize me for telling the truth. Don't tell me anything you're not willing to tell the police and the courts. I told all of these people that. I have made numerous and multiple posts on both Facebook and YouTube about, yeah, don't tell me anything you don't want the police to know. Because I am going to be honest about it. I am going to tell the truth. And I am going to do my best to show the truth. I had to flee Chapel, Nebraska, and the abuse by the police here, sheriff's department here. We don't have any actual police. The sheriff's department is a popularity contest. Okay? It's completely different from a police organization. You don't have to have any law enforcement training whatsoever to be voted in as sheriff. All you have to be is popular. I'm like, oh, look at me. Your prayers are not help. See, while you want to pray for me, what you are doing is letting me know outright that you just simply don't care enough to lift a finger. You'll pray for me. If it happens to you, you go to your buddy's house, you ask for help, you go to the cop shop. For me, I have to beg people. Laura Nelson said, Sean, I said, Laura, I need you to come forward and tell the truth. She says, Sean, if you loved me, if you cared about me, you wouldn't ask me to do that. I said, if you loved me or cared about me, you would have done so already. And she tells me she is afraid for her autistic son. She is afraid of what people in this town will do to her, and especially her son. And Sean Holloway got to hear that. When I was assaulted by Robert Warnick right outside of Brenda Dickinson's house, I had already recorded multiple times that I had gone to the sheriff's department here in town to get help. Now, of course, let's see. Videos. This one right here. I do believe. I wonder, let's listen to a second of it. Not on you.
Oh, nope.
All right, I got my pen and my paper handy. That is my autism advocate. Copy video URL. We'll post it right here again. Paste. There you go. You want to tell me to pray? All these so-called Christians attacking me, not just verbally, not just on the internet. I have to be afraid of going outside in real life. I have to be afraid that I'll be trumped up on charges and arrested. The Nebraska State Patrol was aware that something was going on all the way back in 2018. When the deputies that I was trying to turn in, literally the same exact deputies I was trying to turn in, lied to Jen Beebe and had me taken to Scotts Bluff. I needed Jen Beebe there so that I could safely turn in those exact two deputies to the sheriff. I had tried going to him on multiple occasions before. And he kept on saying, if you have a problem with my officers, come to me. I did. What did he do? Nothing. Is that true? No, it's not. He did everything he could to make sure that his deputies got away with the crimes that they committed. But yeah, you'll pray for me. I'm going to tell you something about these Native American women. I've been posting up about these situations for a long time. Today, a woman gets a hold of me about one of the women that I posted up about. And she says, hey, I'm her friend. She's fine. It was just a misunderstanding. Do you know how good that felt? Do you know how good it made me feel that she was found alive after so many of them are found dead? You have any idea how many of the young women that I have been trying to help find are dead? Look up Selena Not Afraid. Look it up. You know, I got more views when I posted up than any of the news stations did. And you know why that is? Notoriety and hatred. People saw that on my site. The people who hated me shared the shit out of it and talked about it a whole bunch and made a big fucking hoo-ha doo-dah dandy about it. And thank goodness, because it helped to bring awareness. That is correct. The hatred towards me helped to spread the word and bring awareness to that situation. I don't hate Christians. I don't. But there are a lot of people claiming to be Christians to justify their sins, to justify looking away. Basically, that religion allows them to pick and choose the rules that they want to follow. It's okay for them to judge because the Bible says this. But when you judge them back, they say, judge not, lest ye be judged. Hope you all have a good night. Of course, we got another one of these folks typing crap in Russian. What do we do to these folks? That's right. Hide user on this channel. This country sucks because you made it suck by being a sissy.